Hi, welcome to How to D&D. My name's Frederick Weller. Today I want to talk about the spell Mending. This is part of my video series on the Dungeons & Dragons spells for 5e. Mending is on page 259 of the Player's Handbook. This spell allows you to repair an object or an item that has a tear or break in it, no larger than 1 foot. It is a cantrip, so you can cast it an unlimited number of times. It takes an entire minute to actually cast the spell, which means it's not a spell you would use if you are in a hurry. So don't cast it in combat, because that's 10 rounds of combat before the spell will actually work. It also requires the caster to speak a few arcane words, perform a couple of magical gestures, and use 2 lodestones to actually cast the spell. Your character must actually touch the object you want to cast Mending on. Mending is not a combat spell, but it is one of the most useful utility spells available. Mending is only designed to repair 1 tear or break at a time, which means if you have multiple breaks and tears, you will have to cast the spell multiple times to actually repair the damage. Your character must have both halves of the object when you use Mending to actually repair it. Your character could use Mending to repair expended broken arrows and bolts that you find on the battlefield. Broken armor and weapons can also be repaired with the spell. The spell can be used to repair damage or physical damage to a magic item or a construct, but it doesn't restore magical power. This means that your character can repair a golem or another type of construct as long as you have all of the pieces to actually make the repair, and the damage is not too big. So does this mean you can heal or repair injuries to a warforged character? Well, probably not, because it's not intended to be used in that way. It would be overpowered for a cantrip, but you need to check with your dungeon master. Remember that a warforged's lost hit points don't actually represent damage, although if you find a warforged that has an arm missing or a hand, you could, provided the damage is no larger than 1 foot, use Mending to put it back on. If an item has suffered corrosion from rust or acid, then the item can't be repaired because material has been lost. If it's just surface rust on the item or weapon, then you can simply buff that off. You don't have to use Mending at all. If any part of the item has missing pieces, then it can't be repaired because Mending doesn't actually create new material when you cast the spell. It only joins things. Your character will not be able to repair that ruined castle they have found, because casting that spell would require you to have mortar and stone and timber and other things that won't actually be present. I had this occur to me when I was running the Frozen Castle adventure. One of my players asked me, can I use Mending to fix the castle that had crashed, which is Skyreach Castle? And I said no, because there was simply too much damage. Too many pieces missing, so not possible. If an object is broken, Mending is probably the most effective way of making small repairs compared to blacksmithing, sewing, carpentry and other crafts, but it doesn't supersede them, because remember, those crafts can actually deal with more complex repairs. The spell Mending doesn't actually scale as your character levels up. This is not uncommon with a utility spell, and it is already a very powerful utility spell. And it's a cantrip. But check with your dungeon master. As your character levels up, they may allow you to actually have a wider use of Mending. I highly recommend Mending as a spell selection for a cantrip. Alright, that's everything I have on Mending. If you found this video helpful or informative, you know the story, share, like and subscribe. Make a comment below and tell me how you have used Mending in your games to solve a problem or repair something. Until next time, keep rolling those 20s.